Clausewitz said, war is a continuation of politics by other means. Well, this episode is a continuation of the Dead President's podcast by other means.
This is Presidential War.
Presidential war. What is it good for? Intellectual stimulation. Say it again now. Presidential war. What is it good for? President in the nation. Presidential war.
Welcome to the Dead President's podcast. I am James Shea Hamilton.
And I'm Stephen Lincoln Douglas.
And we're back with another exciting installment of Presidential War. We are going to be playing the Presidential War 5-card draw version.
That's right. You might remember that from not the final episode of Season 1 of War, but the penultimate episode in which we debuted this variety of the game.
Yeah, we just re-listened to the beginning of Presidential War number 10 so we could remember the rules. We will each draw a 5-card hand, and then we will be able to choose from that hand on the first 5 categories, but we have to play out the hand before we get a new 5 cards, so our options will dwindle as we go along.
That's right.
And we will kick things off with our first category, which is post-presidential accomplishments.
Post-presidential accomplishments. And so now we got to make a choice from our 5-card hand here.
I'm going with Bill Clinton.
I'm going with first term, Grover Cleveland.
Wow. Well, I think you're going to win this hand.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk a little bit about everything. I mean, the post-presidential accomplishment of Grover Cleveland first term was being re-elected president after 4 years of Benjamin Harrison. And even then, he won the popular vote.
Yep.
So the nation was Cleveland hungry.
Yeah, of course, we have 2 different Cleveland cards in this game. First term Cleveland.
A pretty great card to have on this particular category. And
technically
as for
the single greatest post-presidential accomplishment, getting elected president again.
Yeah. Yeah,
Bill
and as for Clinton, post-presidential accomplishments,
he won the popular vote into almost becoming the first dude of the nation.
Yeah. That's right.
Done a lot of charity work, a lot of goodwill.
They got the Clinton Foundation and all that it does.
Raised a lot of money for
whatever
causes.
Yeah, for causes.
May or may not have, I don't know, hung out on Jeffrey Epstein's island. Is that confirmed? Was that pre or post presidential?
Well, he overcame some health issues.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's just not going to hold a candle to Grover Cleveland here.
Nope.
I'm afraid this first hand is going to old Grover.
We will move on to the next category. Biggest partier. Man, kind of wish I had that Bill Clinton card back.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wishing but wait, it's second term Grover Cleveland.
I'm going to have to play Gerald Ford on this one.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Jerry Ford, I mean, I could see maybe he's going to knock back a couple beers and watch a Michigan game.
Yeah.
I think he probably enjoyed like a nice scotch.
Yeah.
But
now,
Cleveland,
Betty Ford.
Betty Ford.
Biggest partier.
Yeah.
Gerald Ford, bit of an enabler, as he later admitted with Betty.
Yeah.
I think he'd knock back a few. They were pretty social for a time, although he ended up, I think, quitting drinking to support Betty.
And old Stephen Grover, he was all about a little bibulous night on the town.
Oh, yeah.
He liked good food and good drink.
Loose women for a time.
Yeah.
Ended up with that bastard child. That was probably a nice party that night.
Yeah.
Come back to bite him a little bit.
Yeah, and taking the fall for it over 5 other guys that were like married.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you pretty much got to go Cleveland here.
Yep, I think Cleveland is dominating this game for you.
That's it. Too bad my Cleveland well is dried up.
Grover Cleveland is 2-0 in this game, and we're going to go on to most accomplished parents. I'm going James Madison.
And he's going up against John Adams.
Wow. Well, James Madison Sr. was a Virginia planter. Started the Montpelier plantation that his son would inherit. Acquired a lot of property. Made himself the largest landowner of Orange County and its leading citizen. He served as a county lieutenant during the Revolution. Also served as sheriff, justice of the peace, vestryman. Credited with instilling in his son virtues of morality, sobriety, and a sense of purpose. And lived to 1801, just before his son was appointed Secretary of State. Madison's mother lived to 1829. She was, 98
Yeah, wow,
years
she
old.
hung in there.
Yeah, she was very supportive of her son, lived all through his presidency, and apparently lucid to the very end, able to read without glasses.
Wow. That's pretty interesting. As for John Adams, his father, John Adams, was a farmer and leather craftsman. He was described as, quote, a pillar of the community. He served Braintree Township variously as a lieutenant in the militia, selectman, constable, tax collector, and deacon of the church. And if you remember the John Adams episode, John Adams said of his father he was, quote, the honestest man I ever met.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the guy was pretty humble, but he held a lot of different jobs and was respected in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And as for John Adams' mother, Susanna Boylston Adams, she is pretty much known to be the least well-known of the Adams family. But we do know that she had a fiery temper, and that kind of carried on to her son.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, a couple little stories about her. One story is part of her husband's job as selectman was to see that the town's indigent were cared for, and he fell into the habit of bringing stray needy children home with him. And she scolded him one day, quote, I won't have all the town's poor brought here stark naked for me to clothe for nothing.
Nice.
Yeah, so, I mean, she died in the first year of John Adams' presidency. His dad died in the flu epidemic of 1761.
Wow.
So, yeah, in terms of parental accomplishment.
Yeah, fathers with some similar...
That's what I feel like. The fathers
stations.
are kind of similar in their sort of duties.
I'd say maybe James Madison Sr., just because he was probably a lot richer.
Yeah.
Became pretty big.
Yeah,
deal
that's a
as
pretty good
landowner.
argument.
Handed it down to his son.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. We'll go James Madison here.
All right. James Madison is going to take this hand. We're going to move on to our next category. Nicest guy. I'm going Calvin Coolidge.
And I'm going Millard Fillmore.
I think these two went up against each other in a lost episode.
Yeah, I believe they did. But I think there can be cases and arguments made for both of them. Millard Fillmore was an amicable person, and he was, generally well liked. He got along with people. Coolidge I think could be nice with friends and family, but I think certain people, like the lady that, at the dinner party that he just said, "You lose,"
Yeah.
probably thought, like, wow, that was kind of a jerk move. But, fuck you, lady. You're interrupting my dinner.
Yeah. Coolidge, one of our top 5 funniest presidents.
Yeah,
And yeah, just a pretty all-around good guy. Pretty
definitely.
upstanding.
I mean, as the Fillmore, he's described as being a likable person who mixed readily. But, not too much outside of that in terms of personality. Just seems like he was a decent guy.
Yeah.
See, there's a lot of, it's hard for me to say who would be the nicer of the two. I suppose it would depend on what you were dealing with them with.
Yeah.
Like if you're just meeting them, hard to say, I think. Because there's some similarity there in a sense. Coolidge was the wittier of the two.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think he has a lot more humor to his personality, so that makes me lean towards him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's to take away from, Miller. I guess Millard Fillmore was a pretty decent dude, I think I would just personally kind of lean towards Calvin Coolidge. Just because I just like his sense of humor and...
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. And I mean, Millard Fillmore might not be... You might not consider him the nicest guy if you weren't white at the time.
Well, yeah, that's definitely true.
Not nice to fugitive slaves.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. That really tips the scales.
Yep. We're going to tip this scale to Calvin Coolidge. We're down to the last card of our first 5-card hand, so we have no options in this category. Who would win in a fight?
And I've got Herbert Hoover.
Well, I just happen to hold on to
The rail splitter. Oh, no.
Abraham Lincoln,
Well,
champion of the first presidential rumble.
and sole survivor of the martyrs in survival sequence in a legendary bout.
True. One of our top 5 most athletic presidents on his wrestling prowess.
Yeah.
It's got a...
I mean, Hoover might have been a scrapper, but Lincoln, boy. Lincoln's got that reach,
Yep, 6'4",
and he's strong.
powerfully built, experienced scrapper,
Yeah.
frontiersman.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt here. If these two weren't in a contest, one-on-one, I think the odds are in Abraham Lincoln's favor.
Yep. Yeah, I think Hoover would end up getting caught in the rail splitter.
It's a distinct
He would be
possibility.
split in 2.
Yeah, this is a Lincoln hand.
Lincoln taking his hand.
Now we draw 5 more cards.
As we draw the next category, who had the most accomplished vice president? Now that would be accomplishments up to and including the vice presidency. Doesn't count post-vice presidential accomplishments. Let's see. I'm going George Washington. His vice president, of course, being John Adams.
I think I'm wasting this card, but I'm going Thomas Jefferson.
Nice. He had a couple vice presidents.
Yeah.
Aaron Burr as well as George Clinton.
Yeah. Aaron Burr was accomplished in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
And, George Clinton, the Clinton faction
He'd been governor of New York
in New
for
York was pretty
a long time.
solid.
Yep.
George Clinton and DeWitt Clinton, George Clinton not to be confused with legendary frontman of Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah. Yeah, Aaron Burr, he was a Revolutionary War hero.
Yeah.
Became a pretty prominent lawyer, Attorney General of the state of New York, senator from New York.
Murderer.
Well, He was indicted for murder, but it was dropped.
Yeah.
Maybe not considered murder when the other guy agrees to be shot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yep. Tied Jefferson in the Electoral College of 1800.
Yeah, I mean,
Was on our would-be president's list.
I mean, I don't know how you gauge accomplishment, but Aaron Burr, what a figure.
Yep. And we've got John Adams.
And we got John Adams on the other side.
Up through the time of his vice presidency. Yeah, he'd obviously been major leader in the revolution.
Yeah.
Defended the British soldiers at the Boston Massacre.
Yeah.
Made a name for himself. Continental Congress, one of the leaders in declaring independence.
Yep.
Nominated George Washington for the generalship.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of their partnership.
Yeah, he had some... He did quite a lot. I mean,
Then
got us our first credit during, all that. And
major diplomatic service in
Yeah.
France, the Netherlands, and then the first American to be have an audience with George III as a
Right.
recognized independent American.
yeah.
Got a lot of respect over there.
Oh, for sure. And, of course, he would become president. Do we factor in that he becomes president?
Well, not necessarily. I think we just go with his accomplishments at the time that he's
Yeah,
vice
I mean,
president.
his accomplishments were pretty huge. I think Aaron Burr, probably more interesting. But I think John Adams probably more accomplished,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
So I think that has to go to Washington.
Yep. Playing Abe Lincoln and George Washington in back-to-back hands, trying to make up your Cleveland bump.
The Cleveland Volley opening.
Yeah. We'll see what happens in the next category when we got biggest election victories. Well,
I'm going
I've
with...
got Ronnie Reagan.
I've got Franklin Pierce.
Well, that was
Pierce
a pretty huge
did
election
pretty good.
victory.
Pierce did pretty good. Let me see. I'd have to look up the final electoral count. I don't remember off the top of my head.
That was
But I know Reagan absolutely crushed Walter Mondale in '84. That was a monumental landslide. And,
winning 49 states, I think, against Mondale. And he pretty much crushed the incumbent president, Jimmy Carter. I don't think any incumbent president has lost that bad in a long time.
yeah, it was a trouncing. So here's our figures here. You got in 1852, Pierce, electoral vote wise anyway, 252 to Scott's 42. The popular vote 51% for Pierce and 44 for Scott. With Reagan against incumbent President Jimmy Carter, electoral vote wise, Reagan 489, Carter 49.
Wow. 84. He had, popular vote 59% to 41%. Electoral College 525 to 13.
Yeah.
Look, electoral total was the largest in history. Man, that is just a crushing victory.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I can't imagine happening anymore.
No.
Things being as polarized as they are now, like a member of one party winning 49 states. Pretty huge.
Yeah. So that's a Reagan hand.
Yep. No. 1852 was the last time the Whigs really participated in the presidential election.
Yeah.
be surprised that the Democratic Party somehow survived the destruction that Reagan put on it in 1984. But times have changed.
Indeed. Coming up next, we got the category of looks.
Well, too bad you don't have that Frankie Pierce card.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go John Tyler.
I'm going Rutherford Hayes. And the best of presidential beards.
Well, John Tyler.
John Tyler's got that classic kind of Roman profile.
Pretty, little bit of a, gaunt appearance with his cheekbones.
Yeah, very high
nose,
cheekbones.
Pretty handsome. Handsome enough to land a babe 30 years younger than him when he was president.
Yeah, it helps that he was president.
Yeah. There's a lot more of that than his looks.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Rutherford B. Hayes.
Yeah, Hayes not a bad looking dude. I mean, there's
handsome.
Photos of him younger without the beard.
Yeah, you see the young Hayes without the beard. He's pretty handsome.
He's not a bad looking guy, and even with the beard, I'd say he's got the best presidential beard.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's
a pretty epic beard.
It is an epic beard.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Hayes on this one.
Yeah, I think it comes down to
John Tyler looks like the kind of guy who probably couldn't grow a beard.
Well, yeah. Kind of has, he could have played, a version of Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So we go R.B. Hayes.
Tyler's got a little bit of that Grand Moff Tarkin look.
Yeah. Little Peter Cushing.
Yeah. He played Dracula lots of times.
He played Van Helsing to Christopher Lee's Dracula. And in the Hammer horror classics. Coming up next.
Another classic hand.
Yeah. We got most underrated. So now for this, we refer to I believe it's a 2012. No, it's not that old. But it's a a ranking that historians did for C-SPAN.
Yeah, C-SPAN compilation of historians' rankings.
We don't know what year.
Go. Well, Trump is not on it. It's before they started ranking Trump, but...
Yeah.
We've got...
I gotta find where my people are.
I've got Zachary Taylor.
I've got John Quincy Adams.
John Quincy Adams ranked number 21.
Which actually, that seems totally fair, but it was a better option than my other card.
Yeah.
21 for John Quincy Adams, kind of right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually really generous.
Yeah.
I would say.
He is look who he is. He is above Cleveland, Taft, Coolidge.
Yeah, so maybe
Nixon.
he's more overrated.
Maybe a little bit. I got Zachary Taylor. He's ranked number 31.
Yeah. I feel
That's probably about right as well.
that's probably pretty close. I think, to be fair to Zachary Taylor, he has increased in my estimation over any other president we've covered. I like him a lot more than I did going into the series.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot about him going in, and I had a high opinion of him. Although he did, he was cut short, so
yeah,
some of his good intentions, he didn't really get a chance to follow through.
Yeah.
You can give him a little bit of credit. They are ranking him below James Garfield, another tragically cut short president.
Yeah, I would put him below Garfield too.
Yeah.
But I think that's just because I like Garfield.
Yeah. Well,
That might not be entirely fair to Taylor. Taylor was in there longer and had to deal with a little bit more Well, that's not fair to say, because Garfield was actually dealing with a lot, but a lot of it was not, like, job-related. He was dealing with pain and
Yeah.
dirty doctors probing
Being shot.
digits.
Yeah. Well, underrated. I mean, yeah, there's not really a lot of people rated above Taylor that...
Yeah, I don't know.
think
These both
really-
seem actually pretty
I mean,
fair.
Jimmy Carter is 26. That's pretty high for him, but
That's very high for
these
him.
are pretty fair.
Well, I mean, John Quincy Adams, if I played him for overrated,
Yeah.
that's a
He's-
winning hand. But for this, I mean, he's not really underrated at all. I mean, he has a really generous spot. And
Yeah.
for Taylor, that's probably about right.
Yeah. Well, in that
It's in
case-
that area.
Yeah. In that case, probably Taylor
Yeah.
would get the hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so.
We'll go Taylor on this. He's more underrated. And we're down to the last card of this hand. Well, we have no choice in who we would most like to meet. I am going to meet George H.W. Bush.
I'm going to meet Harry S. Truman.
Wow.
And I would rather meet Harry Truman than George Bush, I think.
Yeah, I think
George
I'd
Bush, I
agree with
mean,
that.
you know, you want to say, like, oh, man, he was like the head of the CIA for a while. That would be interesting conversation. He wouldn't talk to you about it.
No.
You know, I think it would be like, how are you doing? Why don't you have a seat there? You could pet Millie if you want.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know.
He'd have some
This
good
is-
stories. World
This is
War II.
Barbara.
Truman has World War One stories.
Yeah, and Truman was much more open to telling stories, though. I feel like you'd have a
Yeah.
much more fun time with Harry Truman.
Mm-hmm.
You'd probably have a drink, probably enjoy a good cigar,
Yeah.
and, you know, just shoot the breeze,
Yeah, you could tell
as
you
only
about,
Harry Truman could do.
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know.
he could tell you about Churchill and Stalin.
Right.
He, another one of our top 5 funniest presidents,
Yeah.
George H.W. Bush. You could ask him how frustrating it was to try to raise his ne'er-do-well son, George W.
Yeah.
How they may have almost come to blows at one point,
Yeah.
if he'd be willing to talk about that.
Perhaps. It's hard to say. I mean, I'm sure George H.W. Bush, probably a really nice guy.
Yeah.
I feel like Truman would be more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't argue with that. I'm going to go, yeah.
Go Truman?
Truman will take that hand.
Time for the next draw.
We're going to get another 5 cards to give us options on the next category. Best educated.
Best educated.
I've got William Howard Taft.
I'm going with James Monroe.
Well, William Howard Taft, pretty well educated. Near the top of his class in public school. Second in his high school class. And then Yale University, where he joined Skull and Bones. Just like those bushes we were just talking about.
Right.
Won a math prize during his junior year, graduating second out of 132 students in the Yale class of 1878, and then University of Cincinnati Law School, graduating and being admitted to the bar. Pretty tip-top education for William Howard Taft.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. As far as James Monroe, from 11 to 16, he studied at Campbellton Academy. It was described as an excellent school, and he progressed through Latin and math at a rate faster than that of most boys his age. Among his classmates, John Marshall,
Wow.
later Chief Justice. At 16, Monroe enters the College of William and Mary.
Pretty top school in Virginia. at the
Yeah,
time.
pretty top school, and I mean, he's doing fine, but what happens?
Well, he dropped out to go
He drops
fight
out
in the
to-
revolution.
Right, yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah, I guess he never graduated from there.
no, he dropped
But
out.
he did get informal legal training in
Yeah.
the law office of Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
he had a pretty good
not too shabby.
tutor.
Not too shabby. I don't know if it... I mean, Monroe for his time, doing pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. But Taft, I mean, he's got a pretty good...
Yeah, he's pretty well educated. Had
Yeah.
a lot of opportunities. His father, of course, being one of the most accomplished presidential dads
Yeah.
on our top 5.
Right.
William Howard had a lot of advantages and took advantage
Yeah.
to really educate himself.
Yeah, I think he takes this hand.
It's going to move us along to the category, who would you rather have date your daughter?
Yes, it's who would you rather have date your daughter? And
We each have 4 presidents to choose from here, and
yeah, I have made my decision.
I'm going to go with Dwight Eisenhower.
Not bad. I'm going with Barack Obama.
Wow. Well, yeah, I chose Eisenhower by process of elimination. Dwight Eisenhower, it seemed like him and his wife had a pretty good relationship.
Yeah,
He's a
Eisenhower
pretty
was
solid
always,
guy.
he always had a good head on his shoulders, it seemed like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, he's in the army. That's going to have your daughter moving around a lot.
Yeah, it's a tough life.
Have her, you know, have
Tough
to
life being an army wife.
worry about him in wartime.
Yeah.
I looked up, there's also, I mean, there's a rumor that Eisenhower had a mistress during World War II.
In France?
I think a woman who had served as his personal secretary, but that's not really confirmed, and I think a lot of biographers don't believe that actually happened.
Yeah.
But seems like a pretty good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, good education. He's athletic. You know, Obama. I mean, at a certain point, things are looking pretty damn good for him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I guess at the beginning, maybe you'd be like, "Who is this guy?"
Well, I think in this category we're
But-
allowed to take into account, you know, all you know about him, who
Yeah.
he's going to become.
And he's one of the best modern politicians, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and seems like a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
Seems like he has a pretty great family.
Yeah, seems really
Great
down to
marriage.
earth. Pretty decent bloke.
Yeah, pretty nice. I think even people who are not, like, on the same page with him politically have to admit he's pretty likable and seems
Yeah.
like a pretty decent guy.
Yeah.
Harvard educated.
Yeah.
Harvard Law School.
Yeah. Not too shabby.
Do pretty good by your daughter.
Mm-hmm. But I think we got to go Eisenhower because he's black. This one's actually pretty close.
Yeah. I think I'd probably give this one to Obama.
Yeah, I think that with the military factor.
Yeah.
If you're gonna factor in the military.
Yeah, it's a tough life for a wife. They moved around.
Yeah, you're moving
lot.
around a lot, and there's long periods of separation, and, you know, then if it's like you're going to raise a family, you're doing it single, for the most part,
Yeah, for
with
some
with
long
little
periods.
intervals of reunion. You know, it could be tough, and especially during wartime. But, I mean, I don't think we need to factor in, like, wartime, but
Yeah.
it's
well,
just career path-wise.
yeah. Obama with that law degree can probably make more money, more stable existence for our collective daughter.
Yeah, just seems like a safer choice.
Yeah.
And therefore,
We'll give this hand.
Obama
to
takes
Barack
the hand.
Obama. Also, he was another of our top 5 funniest presidents.
Indeed.
Another mark in his favor. And we will move on to the next category, which is First Lady accomplishment.
Okay.
I'm going to go James Buchanan.
Okay, that's an interesting choice. I'm going to go FDR.
Wow.
Who I wouldn't want dating my daughter, but
One of our top
whose
5
wife,
adulterers.
yeah, but whose wife I think is one of our greatest first ladies.
Indeed.
And boy, what accomplishments she had.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just the humanitarian work that she did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
She's a top-notch first lady.
Mm-hmm.
James Buchanan, I guess you're making the Harriet Lane argument.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Harriet Lane, his niece, counts in this
Sure.
category.
as in terms of like, well, she was.
Yeah, she was a very popular White House hostess.
Yep.
Lots of people really admired her. She was like inspiring. You know, her fashion sense and stuff was, influential. People were naming their daughters Harriet.
Yeah.
She was really, really well liked and considered. I think we said in the episode 15, one of the first quote unquote modern first ladies.
Yeah.
Really.
Because we talked about the origin of the term first lady and how it really comes back to Dolly Madison's eulogy.
Yeah.
But that Harriet Lane was described as the first lady.
Yeah. Yeah, she really did pretty well for herself. Unlike James Buchanan in the presidency.
Yeah.
And I could not choose James Buchanan to date my daughter because while you might feel confident that he wouldn't lay a finger on her, the one girl that he did date ended up dead mysteriously, perhaps
Yeah.
by suicide.
Right.
Big risk to take.
That's it. But I think we got to go Eleanor Roosevelt here.
Yeah, Eleanor Roosevelt.
Because
she wrote like so many books.
Yeah.
She wrote like a weekly newspaper column. She was just really very influential.
She went all over the world.
Yeah.
A phenomenal amount of work, really.
Yeah, one of the tip-top first ladies in terms of overall accomplishment.
Indeed. Therefore,
She's going to take
she'll take the hand.
this hand. And the next category is Best Statesman. I'm going to have to go Benjamin Harrison.
And I have to make the difficult choice of going with Lyndon Johnson, who is more a politician than a statesman.
Yeah.
Great politician, especially in his early days and everything, but yeah, continued to be so. In terms of statesmanship, well, he had to deal with, the fact that John Kennedy was assassinated,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot with that, and of course you got Vietnam, but did he handle those statesmanly? I suppose, in a sense, when you got protesters on the White House lawn saying, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? And it's the hippie era, and I don't know. More of I consider him more of a, like, classic kind of politician, like in his early days during his rise.
Yeah.
But in terms of statesmanship, I feel like he maybe had a hard time. Bobby Kennedy was giving him trouble. The protesters, the Vietnam War,
Mm-hmm.
and even the Kennedy assassination itself was a pain in the ass,
Yeah.
as far as he was concerned,
His personality, little, pretty uncouth for statesmanship.
Yeah. I think some of those qualities maybe made him appealing as a politician.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because he was like, he's not going to take any bullshit.
Yeah.
He is no nonsense. He just seems like a real deal.
Yeah.
Like he's a real Texan, But in terms of statesmanship, I mean,
Yeah, he's more in his element in the smoke-filled rooms.
indeed.
Whereas Benjamin Harrison, one of my least known presidents at this point. We'll be getting to his episode soon, and I assume we'll learn everything we need to know about him. He's not, as many crises going on during his presidency.
No, but for his time,
LBJ.
he is known as a statesman.
Yeah.
He really is. He's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
He is able to parlay a successful military career
Mm-hmm.
in the Civil War into politics, and he quickly rises to one of the party heads.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big deal. He is involved in 1880 and all of those machinations that are going to see the eventual nomination of Garfield.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Benjamin Harrison doesn't play around. I mean, I feel like he kind of easily wins this hand.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a lawyer, spent 6 years in the Senate. Yeah, known as, like a steady hand
Yeah.
type of guy. Yeah, and I think maybe, the fact that you don't know that much about Benjamin Harrison probably says something for him.
Yeah.
Because if there'd been a lot of crazy shit going on, people would know him better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of, like,
Grant,
his role in the party, he was knocking it out of the park, really.
Mhm. Grandson of a president,
Oh, yeah. I mean, from the
just born to
a
lead.
classic dynasty.
Yeah.
And it's just like nothing happened to happen during his term. I mean, honestly, if Cleveland would have won that election and not been kicked out of office, Cleveland would be considered probably one of the great presidents. And then if Harrison got in when Cleveland got his second term, he would have only had the one term, and he would be considered a failure.
Perhaps.
I mean, chances are. But, it's hard to say, because when Harrison went in there, did he do any policy changes that affected and potentially contributed to the Depression that happened during Cleveland? Well, kinda.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah, there was a lot of Civil War bonus shit going on. And, you gotta remember at this point, some of these Civil War veterans are getting pretty fucking old. And you get all these young 19-year-old girls and younger, like, lining up to marry these old guys, looking for money and shit. We'll get to it later. But, I don't know. In terms of statesmanship, yeah. Benjamin Harrison over LBJ.
I will take the stand with my Benjamin Harrison. And we will move on to First Lady looks. We are down to our last card in the hand. I've got Florence Harding.
And I've got Nell Arthur.
Well, resort to Google image search
Yeah.
for Florence Harding. Of course, Warren Harding, our number 2 presidential adulterer. Not a good option for me in the dating your daughter category. And then Florence Harding. Gonna say,
Well, I mean...
kind of see what Warren was doing, stepping outside of the marriage so
Well,
often.
I mean... You know that she was a nagging shrew of a woman, from pretty much all accounts.
Yeah.
And she looks like it. Ellen Nell Arthur has, I don't know, I would say it's kind of a classic sort of beauty. And she died young and tragically.
Yeah, I'm looking her up on Google image search. I can't recall ever really seeing her picture before, but she's not bad looking.
No, and I think that her loss deeply affected Arthur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think she's a clear victor in this category.
And with that objectification of women complete, we move on to our next category. Most devious. And it's time to draw some new cards.
Yep. I'm going to go Andrew Jackson.
That's an interesting choice, James, because I'm going with his direct successor, James K. Polk.
Wow.
The devious tactics of the dark horse.
Wow, yeah.
Because, yeah, these guys kind of did, well, I think Jackson was way more brazen.
Yeah.
In how he went about things. Polk was a little more devious, in my opinion, with the way he tried to manipulate people onto his side and get, things to go his way.
Yeah, that's true. Jackson had the, military hero image to bank on.
That's it. Polk didn't have that.
Polk more the politician doing things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cut from the same cloth, in terms of their political outlook.
Yeah, they are cut from the same mold,
Old
indeed.
and young Hickory.
Yeah, and that's why I said, obviously not direct successor in terms of, like, the presidency, but in terms of that Jacksonian.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And, Jackson, yeah, he did some devious shit. We know it's apocryphal. We've talked about it. But he's made his ruling, let him enforce it. Seems like a pretty devious thing to even talk about. And that was a story for a long time.
Yeah.
It's even repeated in, presidential documentaries that have been on, History Channel and shit.
Yeah, the Indian removal policy, pretty devious.
Yeah.
The way it was presented to the Indians. Certainly, ostensibly they're supposed to be.
He had no qualms about dueling somebody.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's considered. When I think of devious, I think of more behind the scenes kind of political manipulation. And I feel like Polk had that kind of cornered more. He had his really close circle of friends that worked for him, and they were, kind of the same way.
Yeah, I agree. Jackson, more brazen than devious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd give this to Polk, to be honest.
Kind of with Jackson, what you saw was what you got.
Yeah.
He wasn't making any bones about it.
No. No, I think I would go Polk here.
Yeah. Oh, young Hickory's going to take it from old Hickory on this category. We're going to move on to the category of who would you pick first in flag football. I'm going to go Teddy Roosevelt.
I'm going George W.
Nice. Teddy Roosevelt was our...
from cheerleader to flag football, easy transition.
Yeah, TR was
if he could squirrel up a goalpost and help bring it down, I think he could play some good flag football. I think he'd be faster than TR.
Yeah, TR was in our top 5 most athletic presidents, but W would have been in the running if we were going top 10. He definitely would have been in the top 10.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And his skills maybe a little more germane to football, probably faster, at more distance running, maybe a little taller than TR. TR definitely would have been superior in tackle football.
Yes, no question.
I'm sure his physical aggressiveness would still make him pretty good in flag football as well. He'd probably be a good team captain.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. He would certainly have no fear just diving into the fray, risking injury. And there's no injury that would take him off the field, even if he was shot in the chest. He would continue.
Yeah, I'm just thinking flag football, I don't know. You get a pass to Teddy Roosevelt, catches it.
Mm.
Is he going to be faster than the other guys around? Is he going to be able to squirrel around them? I feel like Bush probably could.
Yeah.
Look at him dodging them shoes.
Mm-hmm. That's
He
true.
could be dodging them tackles.
That's true. Yeah, I think I would give this to George W. Bush.
I mean, maybe it's just like a modern kind of take where it's just like flag football. It just seems much more likely to picture George W. Bush actually playing like flag football.
Yeah.
Than Teddy Roosevelt.
He wouldn't know what flag football is. Not just because maybe it wasn't invented yet, but any kind of...
Well, we're going to talk about Teddy Roosevelt in college football.
Yeah, he was...
Because there's like some serious shit that was going on, and there was almost an end to college football.
Mm-hmm.
And Roosevelt was a little bit involved in this.
Yeah, football at the time, like pretty...
It was seen as incredibly violent.
No, yeah. And his son, Ted Roosevelt, T.R. Jr., was a very accomplished college football player.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting debate.
Yeah. Well,
but I'm kind of leaning towards G-Dub.
Yeah, I agree. This ain't tackle football in this category.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for TR, George W. is going to take it. And we're going to move on to our next category, pre-presidential accomplishments. I'm going Ulysses S. Grant.
Great hand. And I'm going with Andrew Johnson.
Wow.
Which is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Grant, I mean, in terms of the war, maybe the greatest general that the United States ever produced.
Yeah, in some ways,
and, other ways, though, a failure in business.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a pretty big business failure.
Relatively unsuccessful in that regard. Andrew Johnson, on the other hand, I mean, he comes up from hard scrabble and really is able to educate himself. He is able to start his own business. He's a tailor with no political background, but he uses his
populist stump speaking style.
Yeah, to really get in with voters and turns it into something that he starts on a state level and then gets national recognition, and then, what a climb
and then,
for him.
I mean, as a Southern Democratic senator, to stay loyal to the Union.
Yeah.
Something that no other Southern Democratic senator accomplished.
No, yeah, and then be military governor of Tennessee, and it's turned into a really successful vice presidential bid.
Well,
that's where it changes.
Inauguration, not so much.
Yeah, that was the turning point.
Yeah, and then,
but literally up until that point, Andy Johnson's like a hero in the North.
Yeah.
More or less. I mean, he's not General Grant, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to be fair, if it wasn't for the war, if it wasn't for Grant's position in the war...
Oh, yeah.
Johnson was all right.
Yeah. I mean, before the war, Grant was one of the biggest failures.
Yeah. But
then there was the war. Yeah. And he succeeded where all the more fancier, supposedly more qualified generals failed. Grant succeeded.
Yeah.
He excelled all the other Union generals and put a beating on all the Confederate generals that he faced.
That's it. I think it has to go to Grant.
And he stood up to President Johnson after the war holding on to Reconstruction.
Yep.
And then picking that up when he became president.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Grant won the Civil War.
Yeah,
You have to. I mean, can there be a greater accomplishment than winning the Civil War?
I mean, George Washington winning the Revolutionary War.
That's on par.
But yeah. No.
But was it so much George Washington winning it as England saying fuck it and giving up?
Well, I think it was because of what Washington did that put him in that position.
Yeah.
It's what Lee couldn't do because he had to contend with Grant, and Washington didn't have a Grant-level general on the British side.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think even though Johnson is a pretty good card for this category, then I mean, he's a pretty good card here.
Yeah.
I would say. I mean, racist asshole aside.
Well.
You know, he really came up from nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to go Grant.
Yeah.
You got to.
Grant, pretty awesome card in that category.
Mm-hmm.
We will move on to the category of Best Businessman. Good thing I got rid of that Grant card because I won't need it in this category.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Jimmy Carter.
Well, I mean, I have pretty much non-choice. I have John Kennedy, who, I mean, I guess if you look at politics as a business.
Well.
And I mean, I guess he wasn't like technically earning any money, but you know, sex was a business.
Yeah.
To him.
He was giving the business to a lot of ladies.
Yeah.
I don't know, did JFK like have jobs in the private sector like at all?
No.
Mm. Well, Jimmy Carter
actually did.
Yep.
Farm peanuts.
He was a peanut farmer.
Yeah. He's a great card for this category.
Yeah, used modern farming techniques, improving the production on his peanut farm, became a thriving enterprise, and was a millionaire from peanuts. This dude was a peanut millionaire.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good businessman.
Yep. From peanuts to D's nuts.
Yep. Kennedy, more a D's nuts kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think without question, this goes to Carter.
I'm looking up, it says that Kennedy worked briefly as a journalist, covering the United Nations conference.
Oh, I might have read that a while ago.
So
maybe in like an intro to like Profiles of Courage.
Yeah. So that's something. And then he went right into the House of Representatives in 1947. So war service and then the House. He didn't have time for private business.
Yeah, it's more like I think of like him, like politics as a business and, you know, then the way he dealt with women was almost like a business.
Yeah. He was keeping busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize how soon after the war he was right into the House of Representatives.
Yeah. Pretty quick turnaround.
But Jimmy Carter.
Family and that influence.
The better businessman. And we're down to the last card in our 5-card hand. And we're going to see who has the most accomplished children. I've got Woodrow Wilson.
I've got James A. Garfield.
Well, I think I'm going to look up Wilson's children, but
we have Harry Garfield, lawyer, educator, and public official. Let's see. Oh, this is actually really, really interesting. Harry Garfield was the first professor of politics at Princeton University, teaching there during 1903 to 1908 under Dean Woodrow Wilson.
Wow.
During World War I, President Wilson appointed him chairman of the Price Committee of the U.S. Food Administration and promoted him to fuel administrator. In the latter post, he instituted, quote, gasless Sundays, heatless days, and other rationing measures, which earned him the Distinguished Service Medal in 1921. After the war, he resumed the presidency of Williams College, where he created the Institute of Politics, a forum for the discussion of world socio-political problems.
Wow.
Then you have James Rudolph Garfield, also graduated from Williams and Columbia Law School. In the same class as Harry, and he's admitted to the bar in 1888. Practices law with Harry in Cleveland for a time. Then he's in the Ohio State Senate, the U.S. Civil Service Commission, then becomes Commissioner of Corporations in the Department of Commerce and Labor. He was instrumental there in carrying out the antitrust policy of President Theodore Roosevelt. And in 1907, for his services, Roosevelt went on to appoint him Secretary of the Interior. And Roosevelt said of him, quote, his administration of the Interior Department was beyond comparison the best we have ever had. It was based primarily on the conception that it is as much the duty of public land officials to help the honest settler get title to his claim as it is to prevent the looting of public lands. So he becomes a cabinet member.
Yeah, I think he was an honorable mention on our Most Accomplished Presidential Sons episode.
Yeah. He ends up bolting the Republican Party to support Roosevelt's unsuccessful third-party bid. During World War I, he's active in the Red Cross. And he just practices law after that. You have Mary Garfield. Doesn't say too much about her. Doesn't say too much about Irvin Garfield, other than he was a lawyer. Also went to Williams and Columbia Law School. Williams College and Columbia Law School. Settled in Boston. And then Abram Garfield also graduated Williams College and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And he worked as an architect. Served as chairman of the Cleveland Planning Commission and was active in the American Institute of Architects. So that's the brood of James Garfield. Not too shabby.
No. Pretty accomplished.
Yeah.
And then you got Woodrow Wilson. He had 3 daughters. Margaret Woodrow Wilson studied voice and piano. She was a singer with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. And during World War I, she performed at army camps for the Red Cross, a little bit of a USO forerunner.
Yeah.
She later gave up her singing career to work as a writer in an advertising agency, then became interested in Indian mysticism, changed her name to Dishta, and lived as a virtual recluse in an isolated religious community for 4 years prior to her death. Little off the beaten path.
Yeah.
Wilson's daughter, Jessie, attended college, worked for 3 years at a settlement house before getting married in a White House wedding to a gentleman who was on the faculty of Harvard Law School. Jessie, active in the League of Women Voters. And Eleanor Wilson, married Treasury Secretary William G. McAdoo. And wrote a book, The Woodrow Wilsons. Yeah, she was pretty close to her father. Wilson at somewhat of a disadvantage in this category, having only daughters during a time when women really not encouraged to accomplish a lot of things.
Yeah, I suppose that's so.
But not really competing with James Garfield's sons.
No, they did pretty well.
Yeah, James Rudolph Garfield, one of the more impressive of all presidential children.
Yeah.
He's going to take this category. And that's going to bring us down to the final 2 cards.
That's it.
And the final 2 categories.
If you listeners have been paying close attention, you'll be able to guess who's left. Who were the final 4?
The penultimate category, Best Politician. I'm going to go William McKinley.
And I'm going Martin Van Buren.
Damn.
Yeah, Van Buren. I mean, maybe...
The quintessential.
Yeah, maybe the
politician.
quintessential politician. The guy was it in terms of politics.
Mm.
He had it down.
Oh, yeah.
Created pretty much the Democratic Party.
Mm.
And his string pulling.
Yeah, he really pioneered.
He might be unsurpassed.
Yeah, in terms of party organization.
Yeah.
Like, he's a founding father of partisanship.
Yeah,
In
definitely.
terms of, party organization, nominating conventions, political machines.
Yeah.
He's
I mean, you
really
could pretty
the
much
man.
trace it back to MVB.
Yeah.
McKinley, I mean, he did his part. He was coming out of the Civil War.
Yeah, served in the Civil War, became a lawyer, was a county prosecutor, then House of Representatives, governor of Ohio, president, really, worked his way up through the party.
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, I mean, he
as
had a pretty good,
politician.
classic rise for the time.
Mm-hmm.
War veteran turned politician that made good and rose up to the top.
Yeah, pretty.
But, I mean, MVB, I think
Yeah.
he might be one of the better cards in this category, if not the
Definitely.
best.
Yeah, he's pretty much, without superior as a politician.
Yeah.
So, MVB's going to take it. And that's going to leave us our final category. Best President Overall. Wow. What a fitting final category.
Yeah, fitting final category.
Unfortunately, I am left with William Henry Harrison.
And I'm left with Richard Milhouse Nixon.
Nice.
And look, I mean, you've heard of the Weezer conversation. Well, there's also the Nixon conversation. People say, like, he did a lot of good stuff, just don't look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Weezer, don't listen to anything after Blue Album and Pinkerton. Nixon, forget about everything after opening relations with China and the Soviet Union.
Yeah. Yeah, if those Watergate burglars had not been caught, Nixon could have been remembered as one of a top-tier president, really.
I agree.
He did accomplish a lot. He ended up really sullying his reputation there at the end. But very, very accomplished.
Yeah.
William Henry Harrison, 31 days in the presidency.
Yeah, I mean,
What can you really say?
I think we have given William Henry Harrison the credit he's due in his episode.
Yeah.
We gave him credit for standing up to Henry Clay, for not letting himself be dictated to,
Yeah.
for trying to stand up for himself and not just be run.
Yeah.
So you give him credit for that. But, I mean, he's not in there but a month.
Yeah.
So, and for a couple weeks of that, he's sick.
Yeah. Well, the C-SPAN rankings put William Henry Harrison at 38, Nixon 28. And if anything, Nixon may be underrated. If you just look at his pure accomplishments, he's pretty...
Well, I wouldn't knock his accomplishments for sure. And I wouldn't, not mention them just because you can't just focus on Watergate, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I mean, you have to talk about it.
Yeah.
But you have to talk about everything else too.
Yeah.
He fucked up big time. He was a paranoid asshole, and the recordings come out and he's like this homophobic, he kind of a piece of shit. But he did have some pretty good accomplishments. And I think, objectively, he was definitely a better president than William Henry Harrison.
Yeah. Well, I can't argue with that. So Nixon will take the category.
And now, it's time for the card count.
Back with the results. It was a close one. It was a nail biter. It was as close as it can be without being a tie.
Indeed.
I ended up with 20 cards.
And I ended up with 24, which means, for only the second time in history, Stephen Lincoln Douglas has triumphed in presidential war. Standing victorious over his vanquished foe, James J. Hamilton, he appears to be quite pleased with himself. Give a wave to the camera, Steve. That's right.
Well, it's presidential war history.
Yeah, presidential war could go that way sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Another great game.
Another stimulating discussion.
As always.
So many great categories. So many great presidents and not so great presidents.
Absolutely. Not so great presidents, yes, but always great episodes.
Indeed.
Of the Dead Presidents podcast. This is Stephen Lincoln Douglas.
And this is James J. Hamilton.
Thanks for listening.